I guess on my hair, she look alright. And with that actually sitting there like this frames, and I had to have them, sis. All 5 of here. I just had, we're gonna discontinue it, but I had to pick up their Book of Shadows, honey. Color green makes cheap fan, expensive breeze, good times. Why so serious? What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Torrance here, and in today's video we're going to be doing basically a full face get ready with me. I was going to chat about a few things that I wanted to talk to you about, but considering the fact I got to be focused on the makeup while I'm doing that, I figured we'd just bring that to you all in a later video. But the palette that we are going to be talking about today, honey, because I still can't believe nobody's talking about the Sigma Bear Bliss palette. I have not seen a single tutorial, review, nothing on the internet about this palette. Sigma is known for their brushes, but lately more people have been talking about their eyeshadow palettes. This is what she looks like. 12 pans. She's rather neutral. Not sure how many shades I'm wearing on my eyes right now. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I have 8 of these shades on, so honey. Oh yeah. 8 of these 12 shades, just to make sure I can give you a first impressions on exactly how I feel about this. I do have some comparison swatches at the end of this because trust me, you may already have this palette in your collection. I don't want to spoil things, but before we get started, I would love it if you hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and join the fam, honey. We trying to get to 1,000 before the end of the year, and we already sitting right there at that 700 mark, so I truly believe we can get that going. Also, make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you like tutorials. I try to get my videos up about 3 times a week, but lately we've been trying to handle some personal things behind the scenes, so y'all giving us some thumbs ups, let us know exactly what kind of content you want to see. I do have another eyeshadow tutorial coming up later on this week, but I wanted to go ahead and get this drama red look going out of the way. So if you only want to know what products I use to achieve this look, you can just find all of that in the description bar below. But if you would like to follow along to make sure you know exactly how to achieve this look, just make sure you continue to watch. Alright, first up we have a close-up of the box here. It is very simple but very elegant. It has much more of a matte finish, but as you can see the gold is very reflective and very beautiful. It's almost sort of a very pale millennial pink color. The box itself is a little lighter and less pink than the palette itself, but it's not much of a difference. This here is what the palette looks like. As you can see, looks extremely similar to the box. The only difference I notice is that the palette itself is a little more pink. It is the most minuscule of differences, but it's something where if you did not like the box, chances are you're not going to like the palette itself. On the inside, we have 16 shades. I have not swatched any of them. This palette does not contain a mirror, but I do keep the plastic piece from there inside taped on the top just to help protect this cardboard packaging, and I did not want to blind you with that, but I did want to go ahead and show you. We have 12 shades here. There appears to be 8 mattes, 1 matte with sparkle, and 3 metallics. And get into these swatches, honey. When I tell you, this is absolutely stunning. 1 finger swatch, no primer, just beautiful colors. They are pigmented. Look at that black. I'm talking from top to bottom. Beautiful shades, beautiful colors. If you just had to be a negative Nancy, I would say this shade that swatched the worst is that lighter shade, but usually the lighter shade in the palette is the shade that I'm looking at the least, so let's go ahead and get into this tutorial because as you can see, I am truly excited to get started. First of all, can we talk about how long it's been since I've done a tutorial? Not only just any tutorial, but a full face tutorial. Been months. And I'm telling you all, I've missed you. Feels kind of weird being back in front of the camera again because I'm sitting here looking at my reflection like, baby, we ain't seen this view and this lighting up this close in quite a while, but I figured, you know what, Torrance? this is your very first time doing a full face of makeup for 2022, eye brushes still clean, face brushes all clean, but you know what? We about to mess up as many of these brushes as we possibly can. Today, I just really wanted to just sit back and play with things that I know, things I'm comfortable with, and that's what we're gonna do today. I know a lot of people are always talking about their new favorite this, their new this, and although I'm someone who truly loves new makeup, it seems like the older things in my collection is what's, my ride or die. I know they're gonna, do me wrong. So, although this is a new tutorial, technically, it's basically gonna be redoing my old stuff, so we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Before we get started, make sure you all are subscribed. I think we right there at that 700 mark, honey, and by the time this video get premiered and the one behind it come up, we should already be passing up that 700 mark, but do not feel bad, honey. If you don't have any of the things that I have today, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Wait. That ain't what I wanted to say. If you don't have any of the things I have, just use what you have, honey, so that we can go ahead and get into it. And I don't have anything going on. All I have on is lip balm. I did curl my lashes with my Shiseido lash curler. She's my favorite, so we already have that going. But this is a full face tutorial, and I'm going to be wearing some eyeshadow, so I need to go ahead and pull out my eyeshadow primer. Today, I'm going to be using my Soft Ochre Paint Pot by MAC. Going to be pulling her out, and I need me a fluffy blending brush. I'm going to be using actually all tools and product used will be in the description bar below. No matter if it's a product or a brush, I'll make sure that it's in the description bar. We're going to just take this and dip straight into our primer. We're not even going to worry about if we have too much, which we probably do on the lid right now. We're just going to try to split some of that up. And I'm someone, because I like to use bases that is much lighter than my complexion, I like to try to keep as much of that product down and as low to the crease as possible, because that's going to get covered with shadow. If I were to have too much product on the brush when I come right here underneath the brow, it could come off looking a little stark and unnatural in the end. But I don't mind having all that extra brightness right here down toward the lash line, because I know for a fact I'm going to cover all of that with shadow. And you don't have to take it out too far, but even if you do, don't worry about things, because we are going to be putting foundation and concealer and things around that, so I never stress myself out over it. And now, just because I feel more comfortable with a set eye base, I'm someone who has hooded eyes, so I like to eliminate any and all chances of creasing. So I'm going to go in with the original No Color Powder by RCMA. It's a basic no color powder like it says, but instead of going straight into there, I like to put a little bit into this little container here. That way I can go ahead and swirl my brush. I don't have to worry about double dipping. Well, I guess besides this little container, but this is for my own personal use. And I'm going to go in with the Real Technique setting brush. Going to tap off some of that excess. And I'm just going to go in. And my main concern is usually setting my crease area and above. I will set the lid as well, but just to make sure I have a nice seamless blend, I like that area above there to be nice and matte. So that way I reduce any chances of skipping or things like that with my eyeshadow. And once we've dusted that powder on, we can knock off any excess powder using the exact same brush. And just to make sure, because honey, I still cannot believe nobody has done a tutorial with this shadow palette yet. This is going to be the Sigma Bare Bliss palette, honey. When I tell you, I saw this online and I'm like, wait, I usually keep up on the Sigma palette, so honey, there's no reason you're not telling me why nobody has done it, and I'm about to check right now again. Don't look like nobody has a tutorial on it, so it's shocking to be able to say I'm the first person on YouTube to do this, but I think I really am, and let's go ahead and get y'all the honest truth on it, honey. First impressions, we got 12 shadows here. Let me fold this back so that doesn't blind you. And as you can see, she's a neutral palette. We have It looks like 9 mattes, but this first shade here, Humble, is a matte with sparkle. Then you have 3 metallics here. So just to go ahead, be a little playful, be a little romantic, we're going to go ahead and play with the colors more likely on this side of the palette, because if I look at it, I can see a red tone palette here and a neutral palette here. They're both necessarily neutral, but I want to really try to play with this side of the palette here. So I'm going to take me a large fluffy blending brush and this shade here, Passion Fruit, as a transition shade. And she's giving me some kick up, but you know what? I like opacity. And this is the Rougher 27 brush. We're just going to take this, start off low in the crease, and then buff and blend up. I want this color to be popping, honey, and she is definitely coming through for the girls. She's a nice warm pink shade. I am loving her. And as you can see, for my complexion, she's going to be a beautiful transition shade. I think if you have a fair to light skin tone, you may be able to take this into the crease if need be. But for me, honey, and the way I like to do eyeshadow, she'll never get that done for me. But I am loving what we got so far. Gonna go in and do one more layer just to see how she builds. She blends nicely. And the build is nice. Would have cared for a bit more pigmentation on that second layer, but it is giving me full opacity. It's just, I really wish this color would have came through a little stronger. But baby, tell me you can't see her from a distance. You can tell any other shadow I blend into that is going to be nice and beautiful. Next up, we're going to go in with a smaller blending brush. I'm going to use my Rephr number 15, and we're going to go into this shade here, Shakespeare. It's a lot deeper, and usually with shades like this, they're either very easy or very difficult to build and blend. Let's find out which one that is. Okay. We're going to definitely tap that brush off, because I ain't going to lie to you. When I first went into it, I was looking at her like, honey, she coming off a little hard to pick up. But once you get into her, she starts giving you everything you're looking for. Let's hope the same goes for this build. Okay, and she is pigmented, sis. I know I knocked my brush off, but hunty, I might want to knock her off again. I'm confident in my blending, so we just gonna go ahead and get her on there. But trust me, sis, you're gonna have to take some time and blend out those edges, cause whoo-wee. Ooh-wee. She comes with the pigment. Ooh-wee. Okay, yeah, now I'm going to take and just soften her up. I don't know if we're going to want to go in with a second layer that size, baby. If we do, we're going to stick her low in the crease. But as you can see, we did get her blended out. When she first came through though, honey, she came through with the pigment. And I know they call this an eyeshadow palette, but I ain't gonna lie to you. The way this thing is crumbling in the pan, and I'm tapping her off real good. And the way that that thing just built up on the eye, you would think that this was a pigment. We is doing a second layer, lower in the crease, just to make sure we get that depth. But we don't want that harsh line that it could create if you don't take your time and blend her out. And you know what, just for the fun of it, we're going to go ahead and pack her on the outer V as well. Color that pigmented, might as well go ahead and be deep enough to create some dimension in that outer corner. Boop. Yes, ma'am. And I was going to skip over the black and go to After Hours, but you know what? We're going to go ahead and just deepen this up, give us everything we need. I want some deep, dark outer corner shades. So we're going to go straight into this black here, this shade Wicked. Deepen up just the outermost point of our outer V and the lowest part of our crease. Then we'll be back to show you what we're going to do with some of these shimmers. Okay, just because I like to be careful, we're going to knock off as much of this black as we possibly can. And the crazy thing about it is this black seemed to be the smoothest and easiest one to pick up on a brush out of all these shades. So we're going to start in the lowest part of our crease. And I don't want to take this all the way in, about halfway. Deepen up just that outer corner. You want to blend it out just slightly past that outer V. Slowly raise your brush to diffuse that color. I want this to be so subtle that many people even ask if you even, oh, excuse me. I want people to even ask if you even really have black. They may even think this is a dark plum shade. So if you have to go back in and dip your brush, make sure you tap her off as much as possible. And the same thing on this outer end. For the outer V, we're going to start on the outer half and blend backwards just to make sure we don't get too much color up toward the front. Build and diffuse that crease just a little more. I want a little more dimension just because I have hooded eyes, but we do not want to buff that up so high that it takes over our initial crease work. And you can see how we did not take it all the way in here, but that fade makes it look like it could possibly be coming from that deep end. Now we're going to go ahead and cut our crease. I'm going to be using NYX glitter adhesive. She's the cheapest. She's my favorite. And that's probably why she's my favorite, because she's the cheapest. Not to mention, she absolutely does get the job done like no other. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you. And another cheap brush, the Morphe M421 brush. They call it a mini concealer brush. I use it to cut my crease because she is so small and so precise. And honestly, I'm not even really caring for a precise look today. I'm just more worried about making sure we can get the best pigmentation from our shimmers. We're going to just cut high. I'm not even going to cut in front of the eye. It's not even worth being that dramatic today. And I always have to remind myself, get close to the lash line, Torrance, because I will forget and have a gap. I don't want to cover up my outer V. We took the time to build that up, so we want to keep that there. Okay, so this palette only gives us 3 options for shimmers. We have a light neutral here, a dark neutral, and then this burgundy shade here. And because I don't want to bring any outside shades, what I'm going to do is save this lighter neutral here for our inner corner highlight. And we're going to just place these 2 shades on the lids. The darker neutral is this shade here, Iconic. I'm going to put that on the front half of our eyelid. And then I'm going to probably either top it off or put this shade here, Amaranth, on the back half. I'm going to wait and see what it looks like on the eye first before I make that decision. I'm not going to lie, Iconic gave me a little issue with picking up on the brush. She swatched beautifully, but it was like she didn't want to come with me, sis. And I'm looking at this shade now, and it's like, yeah, that ain't the Bam Pow that I picked up with my finger. On the second swatch, she coming through a little stronger. So yeah, we definitely are only going to put you on the front half. I would have taken that all the way over, did my entire eye with that, but nah, she not singing and shining the way I need her to. Sorry sis, somebody else gonna get your solo into play today. Yes sis, looks like Amaranth is giving me the same thing. She not, you know, trying to come through with the brush, but I refuse to go in with my finger today. I got brand new clean brushes and they just gonna have to deal. But see, she packing on a lot easier with the brush than Iconic was. And she's acting more like a cream today than she is a powder shadow. But to me, that red is shining more than that neutral shade is. That's for sure. She might be a little harder to pick up, but when she finally on the eye, it seems like she giving you your money's worth now. I personally would have preferred just a little more shine or some sparkles in this shade, just to give her a little more presence on the eye. Alright, I'm looking at the eyes now and I'm like, Torrance, it's really not much more you can do for the top half. Everything else I want to do will consist on the lower lash line. So, time to go ahead and get into the face. First, primers. Becca Evermatte, absolutely love her. The fact that Becca is gone, honey, already has my feelings hurt, but I am hoping Smashbox will bring this back out because I think I got 2 backup bottles. And this bottle here ain't barely been used, so I know I'm covered for at least the next year. If not 2 years, depending on how often I wear my makeup. But baby, I don't ever want to have to be without this product. I like to take it and just put just the tiniest amount, and I'll probably put way too much, so we're going to wipe a lot of this excess off. And I put just enough to coat the sides of my nose. I used to put it everywhere until I realized at the end of the day, over 90% of the oils that I do not like is pulled right here on the sides of the nose. And by just putting this here, it handles my #1 problem and I don't have to worry about touching up and hitting every area of the face. You look at just doing just that, I've already slenderized my nose because the natural oils and the highlight is creating right here. The mattifying feature right here on the sides, baby, already look like I got a nose job. But for primer, Maybelline Master Prime. This is the shade 100 Blur and Smooth. I also like their shade 050 Hydrate and Smooth. This is probably what I'm going to switch over to once this bottle is out because winter is here. My skin is drier than ever. Yeah, you see, it's barely giving me some. So I have this on deck and waiting to use that Hydrate and Smooth. But I think we'll have enough to get through today. And this primer we put everywhere, including directly on top of that Becca primer over the sides. And I like to go all the way down the neck just to give me the best longevity. I like to press right up underneath the eyes. I don't like to swipe simply because I have nails and a bad swipe can end very wrong for the day. Brush it up into the hairline, down around the brows. Just want to get everything nice and coated and ready for foundation. Am I giving y'all an ASMR moment? Let me know in the comment section because it sounds like it over here. All these swipes and all this pressing. And I promise you, it's plenty of days where I can step out the house with just primer on. For foundation, honey, I truly believe what we're going to be using is the NARS Sheer Glow. The thing is, I'm the type of person, me and my friends, we don't mind sharing a foundation. I'll buy a bottle, pump half of it into another bottle, give it to a friend. She can do the same for me so we don't have to always buy foundations. And I could have sworn I made this for my sister and she never picked it up. And so I'm going to be using this. I do have the full-size Sheer Glow sheet right here on this counter, but I want to run through this before I go through that, and I truly do believe this is Sheer Glow. I won't know until I actually start applying it to the face. Once I start blending it out, trust me, I'll know for sure because I've worn Sheer Glow probably more than any other foundation. And sis, I do not recommend double dipping you all, but I'm getting rid of this thing here. And we're not using too many other foundations until we get rid of this. And the idea of knowing I just did this means nobody else is going to be able to get this sample up off of me. I'll have to create a new one. But trust me, if I don't have anything else in my collection, you can best believe I'm going to have me some NARS complexion products on deck. And you probably do not need this much, honey. You are probably a natural, beautiful woman, honey. I'm just a gay dude with bad makeup. No, not bad makeup. Acne prone skin and good makeup techniques. And so we're going to take this brush here. I like round kabuki brushes. To me, they just provide the most coverage. They're the easiest to work with. I think in general, the public tends to prefer flathead kabuki brushes. I just like them small and round because it reminds me of the end of a beauty blender. So that's what we have. I'm going to put this on. And I'm just going to press and do small, very small swiping motions like. because I don't want to move this product too much. I want it to try to stay exactly where it is and provide as much coverage as possible. Doing it this way does, in a way, increase your chance of brush strokes because you're not moving the product as quickly as you can. But to me, it provides more coverage, which is what I'm here for when I'm going for a foundation. And as you go slower down the neck, because you're going to need less coverage, and depending on what color top you have on, you may not want to go all the way down to the neck. I find going about 3/4 of the way to be, you know, where I'm comfortable. But now we're just going over everything and ensuring we don't have any brush strokes. Yeah. For concealer, and I'm hoping it still comes concealer left on this thing, I'm using my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. This should be the shade Praline, but when I tell y'all, she is dried up, honey. I'm not even sure if it's enough product on here to get through this tutorial. We're gonna find out. Let's see. Baby, we might make it through. I know I have another backup because I'm never going to be without my NARS complexion products, but I'm telling y'all, I am scraping this little thing here. And I love concealer. I love concealer. To me, I prefer to use it for highlighting because I'm going to get all of the coverage that I need from my foundation. And just because I know I'm about to toss this out, I'm just absorbing all the cakey and bakiness that I can, sis. Ain't no point in lying. You can't hurt my feelings by telling me I'm wearing too much makeup. So more than likely this is gonna go in the trash. You could probably see, like, you can see the scrape marks on the side of this thing. Like, I've been on this concealer's head. Beauty Blender. I like the Beauty Blender Pro. I also like to dampen it with my Evian facial spray. Right now, I'm not in a position to get up and walk over to the sink every time I need something. So when I start doing my makeup, whatever's sitting right here is right here. And usually I don't have fresh water over here, but I always got me some Evian spray. Because I like most coverage underneath the eyes, I'm gonna make sure I blend that last because letting it dry down a little bit will help give you a little more coverage. And where I feel as if I need the least amount of coverage is my chin, so that's where I'm going to start and work my way up. My main focus is just diffusing the lines a bit. I still want to keep most of that product exactly where I put it because I want to create dimension in the face. Putting on that full coverage foundation, and then blending it out gave my face one even tone. And a lot of times people think, you know, that sounds good to have just one straight tone on the face, until you realize it gives you a very flat and unnatural appearance to your skin. Even with the most clearest and most even and most beautiful of complexions, you're still going to see different colors on the face because it's just human and natural. The skin underneath the eyes is not the same texture as the skin on the forehead, and so you should see slightly different hues coming from that. And as you can see, my main thing right now is just blending things out so it's not harsh. You can clearly see it used to be way brighter right here, but it doesn't look the way it does here. You can just tell it automatically looks like I've already contoured even though we haven't done so. We're going to go in and blend, pressing up closer to the under eye area. Remember, we're not trying to remove this product, we're just trying to soften the lines from where we placed it. And I like to use my Beauty Blender as sort of as an eraser. As you can see, where it was blended out and around and even came slightly underneath the eye just to make sure I had a good blend. Right here, I've taken my Beauty Blender and started to blend it up a little bit to give me a raised look on this side. It doesn't have to do everything, but I do like to go in and try to get that process started. And then we just want to round out our cheeks. Bam. And as you can see, unblended, blended. Alrighty, sis. Now it is time to set everything. I understand. Most pro MUAs are not a fan of bacon. On myself, I absolutely love it. I don't think there's no substitute for it. So what we're going to do is take this powder here. This is our Sacha Buttercup Light. I mixed it 50-50 with the Midnight Colorless powder. We're going to use this for the highlighted areas. And I'm going to take my sponge one last time, blend out any under eye creases, honey. I'm in my mid-30s, so there are lines there. And I like to use me a big old fat old brush. So I got the KVD number 25 brush, and we're going right underneath the eye. Baby. Bake and cake, and I use the powder to also help clean up the eyeshadow by pressing and covering over any areas that I did not get with concealer. We're going to come all the way up to the side of the nose and then cover our cheek with the same powder. Now you don't have to have a pound in each area, but you want to make sure you have enough powder to guarantee that everything is set and you don't have to worry about nothing moving. And look at that, honey. You see how it's giving that extra layer of brightness? We already got on the highlighting concealer, but I'm here for the dramatics. I'm here for the glam. We're going to do the other side. And now just for the rest of the highlighted areas, the chin. Remember, we're trying to create dimension, Cupid's bow. So I want to set this with a slightly lighter powder than I am the rest of the face. Bridge of the nose. And the center of the forehead. And you can take this as far in as you like. I usually like to go just slightly further than where I did my concealer. And as you can see, honey, the inside of the face is looking rather dry, rather matte, but certain areas like right here still have a nice glow to it, like around the forehead as well. And I believe if you have normal skin, this may be all you want to bake. If you got that oily skin like me and you like that true cake and bake, you're going to want to go ahead and set the rest of the face. So let me go ahead and put this powder over to the side and grab me an even bigger brush. As you all see, I'm a big fan of rounded kabuki brushes. This was initially sold as a bronzer brush. This is the LBD bronzer brush, but we're not going to use her for that. We definitely about to use that to set the rest of the face. And for this, I have it in this small container because I don't have another empty Sacha one. But this is a 50-50 mixture of Buttercup and Buttercup Light. So 1 part Buttercup, 1 part Buttercup Light, and then 2 parts of the Midnight Colorless. I'll leave everything in the description bar below. But we're going to tap some of this powder out of here and set the rest of the face. But you know what? While we still have some of this leftover powder from setting underneath the eye, we're going to use that first and use that to just set the nose. Just because I know I'm going to go over that with a contour powder, I don't mind just going ahead and we using that up first. That way things aren't too dark in the center of the face. Then we're going to take some of this powder, sprinkle this over, and we're going to use that to set everything else. I personally like to start with my 5 head first, just because I know if I start sweating, that will be the very first thing to go. Even before the oils kick in, if I break out in a sweat, the forehead is the first to give up. And now whatever powder is just left, we're going to take that and just use that to dust on the outer perimeters of the face. And now that we have everything set in stone, honey, because that's how dry and cakey we looking, but I promise you, things won't stay like this. We're going to go back in, and in the reverse order and where we place powder, we're going to go use that same brush to dust all of that powder off. So since I did my neck last, he will be removed first. only going to use this for the outer perimeters because this is the only brush we use to put down powder on the outer perimeters. Knock off any excess powder because we're trying to remove powder now, not add more down. Use this. Any additional powder, trust me, after a few moments, any liquids that you have on your face will absorb that extra powder and you will have remaining powder left over. When I first got into makeup, I could not figure out for about 6 months why I could never get rid of my flashback. And it was because I was putting the powder down and never removing it. I would just go on with my makeup routine, honey. Building right on top of all of that cakey powder, trying my hardest not to knock it off. I just like to make sure I get really good underneath the eyes with removing because that's where flashback likes to hide the most. Alright, honey, we are back, and it is time to contour. We done went in, added depth and dimension. Well, we done added dimension by highlighting here, but as you can see, certain areas you can see a little dimension. Other areas when you turn, it's like, okay, but she a little flat from the side, but she look a little bright from the front. We got to change that. Contour will get the job done, and I had to rearrange my makeup room, y'all, so things is looking a little weird. I had to put my contour powder in this big old palette here. I'm debating on creating a palette just for the face, and trust me, my KVD Vegan Beauty and Subconscious, I absolutely love it. You see how much of a struggle pan this is, but I promise you, I got at least 2-3 backups of this. Never gonna be without it. And we're gonna use this brush here. I don't even see the name of this brush on here. I just know it's an It for Ulta brush, but we will have the name of it in the description bar below. And we're gonna use this to contour our nose first. I've always liked to go in first and do the nose just to give me a detail of how deep and dark this color is. And so I like to start on the sides of my nose and just swiping straight down. This is why we knocked off all the excess product, because we can always come back in and build up. And for me, I like to just create the extremely faint lines that I want to carve in later. I'm not sure if on camera it's showing you that. I'm trying to just go in and create the very faintest lines. I think you can see exactly where I put things. And to me, if you can just barely see it now, then more than likely it's going to show up as even more presentable and more noticeable in person. And so that's why I like to tap off as much product as possible, go in and create those lines, and then I can come back out and buff them out. Because I know she looks soft now, but I would rather that look even so soft that you don't notice it. And right now I'm just going around creating lines right here at the very bottom of the base. Also right here where your nose would naturally sink in. I don't want any of those lines to disappear. And I want to smooth out and soften just the very base. And now that I have an idea of how snatched you see that nose is looking, honey, time to go in, knock off all product, and buff and diffuse those lines out. I like to start at the very bottom and just start to buff and blend small circular motions and just erase those lines. I don't want this color to disappear, but I don't want you to be able to clearly see where it starts and stops. And with things like nose contour, there is never a such thing as being too blended too well. Honey. Blending for me on contour means a little bit more than it does on eyeshadow. And I like to just bring my brush parallel to the nose and bring it down as far as it will go. And that'll give me an idea of how low to take that color. Coming around the bottom and the edge, we just want to soften any and all lines. If I can see even the faintest of lines, then I haven't buffed enough. And as you can see now, when I turn, I'm always focused and looking to see, Torrance, where can you see the lines on that nose contour? Where does it look the absolute strongest? Whenever I see that, that's what I want to buff out. Then you go back, check again. As long as you always attack wherever that color looked the strongest, you'll always get a more natural look in the end. Now, I'm going to take that same powder, dust off as much as I can, and I like to contour my Cupid's bow. I like to take one line going straight up the middle to create that dip-like shadow. You see now it makes my Cupid's bow look a little larger. Then we also want to come up to the sides. On each side, once again, we're creating that shadow to give our lips depth and dimension. But, as you can tell, that looked like a milk mustache or something there. It doesn't look completely natural. I can see the white beam here and the white beam here, and those lines in between sort of looks like mud or something, but it won't stay that way once we go in, diffuse those lines. Placing a harsh line is one thing. Leaving it is a whole nother. And you just want to diffuse it until that line becomes almost imperceptible with the skin. That line being there and being darker than the rest isn't a problem because we want it to look like a shadow, so we need it to look a little lighter, darker. But you got to buff out those edges. A real shadow would not have a strong edge like that against a soft lip. Pull back, look and see. To me, I would just buff that out a little bit more in the center. I'm still getting beam-like looks. Okay, and that looks a little more natural. I can possibly go in just a bit more to diffuse it, but we don't want to do too much more. And now, time to contour our cheeks. I love my sculpting brush from Real Techniques. She's been a favorite, and as you can see, once I press that in there, boom. That's exactly what took up all the product from here. So I always got to go in and dip around all four corners now because I'm low on product, but we ain't switching brushes or product. And now that she's covered evenly, we can go ahead, just barely tap off some of that, because once again, I'm going in. I like to go from above the ear to the corner of the lip. I create an imaginary line and I just draw it there, boom, until I get to the edge of the eye. As you can see, that's just one strong line there, but I'm not going to keep it there. We're going to come back in and buff her out. I like to create that harsh line just to remind me of where I'm going to put my shadow. And because I have a 5 head, honey, I like to go all the way around the entire perimeter of my forehead with what product is left. I know I got a big forehead, and after I put those strong lines on my cheeks, whatever product is left is usually enough to go ahead and just do my forehead, blend everything out. And I'm not worried about how far I have to bring this in because I know I want to shrink the look of my forehead. The number one spot I like to get is up here in the corners as well as right here near the top. And I might grab just a little bit more product just to do right here. Bring that forehead down, sis. Down, down, down. And once I realize I have no more product on my brush and I don't have anything left to blend, that's when we can come back to our cheeks, start to diffuse that. I like to start directly on the line and then slowly bring it up. Slowly. Because we still want that area where we put the line to come off appearing like the hollowest point of the cheek. It'll automatically start to look like your natural jawbone there once you start to diffuse and blend that up. If you blend it down, it's going to come off looking muddy. Same way I do my foundation, more of a patent stippling motion than the actual buffing. Coating my brush one more time. Gonna do the same thing. We're gonna follow our jawbone, where we're gonna create the streak to give us the look of a strong jawbone and come up behind the jaw as well, near the ear. And I personally like to shave off just a tiny bit of the jaw there. It gives a more feminine look, as well as the size of the chin to give me a smaller, more feminine looking chin. And because I'm fat, I usually also like to come right here where that double chin is starting to poke out at. Make you a little darker too, honey. If it's bright right here and you look dark right here, you come off looking like a shadow instead of a fat pad, honey. Just put the tiniest bit of product right there though. And now we're gonna go in, buff out that jawline. We don't want it to be sitting right here where you can see that's a hard, strong line. You want to make it look more like this front area where as you start to buff and blend, it becomes more indefectible and looks more like your natural jaw structure. And come back in and diffuse those lines we made on the chin. Areas that stick out on the face like the chin, the nose, it's much harder to hide those lines, so you want to spend a little more time buffing those out. And I want to buff out the top of the chin just because right there where that crease is, if you put a little shadow there, it comes off looking a little more realistic. See how that looks like the light actually beams off the chin. Okay, and now you can see that line is not completely gone. We don't want to thoroughly make it disappear, but it should not look like a strong streak. It should come off looking more like it's light here, slowly gets darker here, and then it comes back light again because of your jawbone. But we're going to diffuse this down a little bit more to help erase that double chin just a little better. Told y'all, honey, it's been a minute since I wore makeup, honey, and I done gained a few pounds. Now for a blush, honey. I have not worn this blush in so long. This was my favorite NARS blush and they discontinued it. I hardly ever wear it, but I've promised myself, Torrance, you're going to start wearing your favorites, whether they're discontinued or not, way more often. This is Peep Show by NARS. She's a beautiful, I would say like a peachy pink coral shade. I absolutely love her. Y'all know I always tell y'all my favorite blush is Serafina from Juvia's Place. And I love her because she has a nice sheen to her. But when I'm telling you, Peep Show, I wish they could bring this back. She's just a little more pink to her. She has a sheen too, but the sheen isn't quite as noticeable. But, honey, I absolutely love this blush. And I'm just so hurt that they discontinued it. But look at this. Just the nicest, softest, cutest pink color. You can see that there. And I'm telling you, I put it on that strong just so you all can see it. I'm going to go back in, add a little more, and diffuse this out. But I love it because it's one of those colors where I can go in very lightly and have just a nice flush. Or I could go in and build her up and come with the drama because, honey, this pink will overgo anything that you put on if you put too much. But before I got into eyeshadows, blushes were my thing. Blush was my way of playing with color and not caring because I wanted to be able to make sure you could see my makeup, honey, when I first got into it. But I was not for putting on, say, like a purple eyeshadow and messing up my whole look. But a purple blush, baby, I didn't care. I felt like Mimi from the Drew Carey show. I just knew I was fine. And as you can see, look at that pink, honey. Like, she brings it. And I love this color. Like, I need to go ahead and put this brush down because I will keep just layering and layering and layering and layering. All right. Now that we've got those powders on, I am someone who generally, I would say, I usually don't need bronzers because, as you can see, I'm the type of person who knows how to go in, contour, bronze, do all that up, not bronze, contour, highlight, and get the complexion color that I need. What I'm wearing today, I see no need to wear bronzer, so we're going to skip that today. If for any reason I were to try the foundation or concealer or something that was too light, I will go in and do that. But we're going to go ahead and just finish the face off the way we know we need to. And although I went in and I'm telling you, we baked and caked and layered so many products that things, even though we have some dimension to the face, are still going to come off looking flat, matte, and dry. And I'm not here for that. So what we're going to do is take a large fluffy powder brush. I'm using my Wayne Goss number 11 brush and luminous finishing powders all over the face to make sure everything sets to a dewy, glowy finish. I'm taking my Laura Mercier Candle Glow Sheer Perfecting Powder in shade number 2. And I like to use shade number 2 in all of my highlighted areas. And I'm telling you, I like to swirl my brush in here, get a nice bit of product as you can see. And I just sweep this all over the areas of my face. Like I said, shade number 2 is my highlighted areas. So we're going to start right here underneath the cheeks. Underneath the eyes and on the cheeks. I want this all in my highlighted areas. Straight down the nose and in the center of the face. And you can already see the glow that this powder brings. Many people automatically assume that powder means dry, it means ashy, and that's just not always the case. The cupid's bow as well as the chin. And I like to do the highlighting powder first because I'm going to also use this same brush to go in with a shade that's slightly deeper for the contoured areas. But I like to make sure all areas of the face receive a little bit of this powder. Next, we're going to go in with a shade that's slightly deeper, shade number 3. Now, this is the shade that's much more like a bronzer if need be. The deepest shade I think I've ever had to use on my complexion is shade number 4. But we're going to go in, swirl my brush again with shade number 3. And I like to do the nose first, just to make sure I don't have too much product on my brush. And baby, that was a lot. Then go around, do the forehead. Because I know I'm trying to minimize the look of my forehead, I'm always making sure I get a good buff right there near the top. And now, as you can see, this no longer looks flat, matte, and dry. You can see the glow that's already coming up off the skin from the forehead area compared to the cheek area here, which still looks a little more dry than up here. But we're going to make sure everybody gets some of this glow, honey. I'm going to sweep this all over and make sure nobody's looking ashy. Honey, everybody who was baked will be set with a little glow. And I like to just swirl just a tiny bit, go in, dust, and then keep going back and forth. I don't like to have too much product on the brush at one time where I risk depositing too much color. And I like to take this all the way down as well, honey. We need a even complexion. Ain't no point of the face looking like he bathing in California and then the neck looking like she was just chilling in Alaska. Like, come on now. Everybody want a little bit of glow. And just to make sure those colors come in a little better, you spend a little more time on the neck. And that's it. Just because I want to do this right here. Oh, honey, how you think you gonna finish off the face and you don't got no highlighter? Honey, look at, I done sculpted and snatched everything through and you think I'm not doing it? Highlighter. MAC Oh Darling. I know y'all sitting back wondering, what happened to yours, Torrance? I took and grinded mine up into a fine powder so I could have a loose powder highlighter. That way I can use it to create custom eyeshadows and things like that. That's just the type of thing I like to do, honey. I love it. But we're going to take our IT Cosmetics. This is the IFA Ultra Radiance Fan Brush. And we're going to use her with this to highlight the entire face, honey. You can't tell me nothing about this highlighter. I absolutely love her. I usually get another one every year. I didn't get one this year, but it's still time to change that. Tap off that little chunk that I just seen right there. And I always like to do my nose highlight first. I know most people don't, but look at the way that just beamed, honey. Like, A lot of people hate a beaming nose highlighter. Honey, I love it. Cupid's bow. Got to go. Ham, ham, ham. Usually I'm getting it right there on the lip too because I want to make sure my entire Cupid's bow is covered. We're going to cover that with a lip product, so I'm not worried about that. Next is cheeks. Yes. Oh. Mac, oh darling honey, she is that girl for me. That plus a fan brush, and you see I am just buffing and building and layering. And with each, look at that. And even though I have a big forehead, honey, I like to just still add a little highlighter right here above the highest point of my brows. Because to me, whenever I naturally perspire, that's one of the areas that tends to get a little glow. And by putting that there, it tricks the eye into believing that that's my skin giving off this glow, not this makeup. And whatever's left right here on the chin, just to help give another realistic glow, because you want to be able to have dimension from all angles of the face. No matter which way you turn, you want to be able to see some type of highlight and contour going on. Truth be told, sis, I was not prepared to choose a lip combo. I haven't the slightest clue on what colors I want to wear. Yeah, so we're just gonna look over here and see what we can find. I found straight up by the lip bar, she gonna have to work. We're gonna take that, put her on. We're just gonna line our lips. Some people like to overline, some people just like to straight line. To me, it always depends on the day. Today, I think I'm just gonna go in and just do a basic line of my lips. I usually find it unnecessary to overline, but sometimes the look can be cute. And I usually don't worry about how precise my line is. I start off slightly underneath where I want it to go, and then I come back and try to get a little more precise as I get closer to the edge. But because I like to diffuse my line with a pencil brush or a smudger brush, I'm usually not worried about it being exact. Yeah, you see, that's not the cleanest, most sharpest line ever, but with the help of our smudger brush from Ulta, start from the center, work your way up toward the edge to diffuse that line, because we don't want it to be a strong, harsh line. Just like with contour and everything, we blended it up. We don't want to erase this color, but we don't want that harsh line there, so she got to go. And I just find that using a brush helps do it without smearing it, because sometimes you may rub your lips just a little too hard, and now you just smeared that color on the outside, and that can be a lot harder to clean up than just washing an extra brush at the end of the night. That color is still there on the lips, but it doesn't look quite as harsh and quite as strong as it did before, because we blended some of that color up into the lips. So this can act partially like a lip color as well as a lip liner. And because I'm not sure what color we're gonna put on top of this, Fenty Beauty Fenty Glow, she's sitting right here. I mean, why not? Let's just go ahead and get her going. I promise you all, Fenty Glow is like just the universal perfect lip gloss for me. I honestly think I might want to go in with one more dip, but we'll save that for the end because we still have eyes we have to finish off. What have we not done? Brows. ABH Brow Wiz. Spoolie. I'm not going to lie to you all and sit there and talk, oh, I got to spend this much time, honey. Nah. I got full brows. I like to just comb them through, fill them out, and keep it moving. Ain't nobody got time to be doing this all day. I am using the Brow Wiz in the shade Chocolat. I used to use the shade Dark Brown and found that dark brown was just a little too dark for me, especially with the way I can overfill sometimes. So I like to start and just trace a line at the bottom. I'm not really worried about how harsh she is, but to me, I found that if you just create that one line on the bottom, that's what gives you the most dramatic effect out of everything. Just doing that on this one side, you can see how much that looks much more cleaner than on this side. But after we do that, that's when I like to just basically fill in just the spots that need to be filled in on the top, constantly and always moving the brush so we don't create a harsh line. And once we see an area is filled in, we move on. We don't try to worry about getting it perfect or anything like that, because the human brow naturally tends to have some patches to it. And once we have that filled in the way we want, spoolie it out, starting at the bottom because that's where that harsh line is at, and we want to help diffuse that. Brush everything else through. And now we have a brow that still has some hairs and some skin peeking through, and she look cute. I'll do that on this side. Now that we've done that, we need ABH Clear Brow Gel and a disposable spoolie, honey. I'm not the biggest fan of double dipping just because I have dark colored brows, and watching that clear brow gel turn a different color, no ma'am. And I don't even like to dip it in there. I like to just run a disposable one across the one that you dip in there. So that way I don't even have to worry about it. And I'm going to use just whatever products on here. Brush straight up and through. Yes, ma'am. Alright. Now it is time for mascara, honey. My favorite combo on the market. They are both from Lancome. My Lancome Cils Booster Mascara Primer. My Lancome Monster Big Mascara. These two is bae, honey. It's just, they've gotten me through so many tough times, honey. It's just such a reliable combo. Even if I'm not using this particular mascara, I absolutely love this mascara primer. I think the only one that's competed with this primer that I've tried so far, I think it's the Chanel one, but when you think of the Chanel price tag, it's like, me and Lancome gonna have to make it work. And just because I know my eyes tend to water up very easily, I like to do the bottom lashes first because I know they will water up faster than my top lashes. So by getting him going quick and fast and easy, I can hurry up and have him over with. And hopefully my eyes can be calmed down by the time I come back from mascara. And a lot of people ask, you know, do you need a mascara primer? No, it's like a face primer. It's not something that's necessarily needed. Every step in makeup is just a desire, and many people have their ways of executing that. I've just come to find that with primers, it tends to make the job a little easier and a little more predictable for me because I already know exactly what's going on with the products. It's like, even if I don't know exactly what your skin type is, I know exactly how this product works, and I know if he gives me a little more longevity, you know, if he's going to smudge a little less or things like that with certain primers underneath them. Now, this mascara, she may be a sample, but baby, she comes through fighting like she a full price dog. And we're going to go ahead and just wiggle this on here. Ooh, and baby, I am glad I started using this when I did, because I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I know what this mascara feels like brand new and used. And I know I had already opened her before, but she ain't got much shelf life left on her, babe. She like, you already opened me months ago. You was supposed to keep going. You wasn't supposed to stop and go test out something else. Sis, look at those eyes, honey. I'm debating. Torrance, do you want to go ahead and get you a black eyeliner going? Let's go ahead and do it. You know what? Just because we're here. And normally I will go in with my Perversion. That's my absolute favorite. Y'all know that. But I reorganized my eyeliners and found this one called Zero. I think she's a shiny black and Perversion is a matte black. We not sure, but what we do know is we about to go ahead and try Zero out because I ain't had her in a minute. So let's go ahead and see what she working with. Yeah, so she either a shiny black or an off black, but you know what? She ain't Perversion. So I'll be right back. I got to do this off camera because there's no way y'all gonna get a close-up view of me doing that. I ain't that person who could do this with that one thing. I'm not that girl. I think the only thing left to do is our lower lash line, so let's go ahead and get into it. And I really think what we're going to do is just repeat on the bottom what we did on the top. We're going to take our large pencil brush, go in with Passion Fruit, a smaller pencil brush, and this shade here, Shakespeare. Then we're going to go in with a push liner brush and use this shade here, Wicked. Got Passion Fruit on my Rephr number 26 brush. I'm going to start on the outside. And this shade here, Passion Fruit, does not come, baby. She is pigmented. She did not come to play. Now I have my Rephr 03 brush, and we're going to go in with the shade Shakespeare. I'm going to tap this off some more because Shakespeare is a pigmented shade, honey. Just give me a little extra right there on that side, because baby, when I tell you this shade is pigmented. And for Wicked, I'm using the Rephr 29 brush, and more than likely I'm going to do the same thing we did on the top and keep this to the outer half of the eye. Yeah, I'm liking the way that looks. Almost brought it all the way in until I realized on the top we didn't bring it all the way in. But you do want to make sure it connects on that outer end up to the top. Baby, 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 she is looking cute. Look at that. I'm trying to figure out what all we have not done. We have not highlighted our brow bone and our inner corners. Actually, to help me get a true indication of the pigmentation, I'm going to take one shader brush and use this shade here, Humble, to highlight my brow bone. And then to highlight my inner corners, we're going to use a different shader brush in this shade here, Bittersweet. We're going to use a dense shader brush. This is the Rephr number 2 for the shade Humble. And I don't need much because this shade is much lighter than my complexion. I'm going to tap off my brush and just put this right at the arch. Oh yeah, see honey. You can see that shade right there is not playing. Like, I want to show y'all what it looked like from the jump. Just in case y'all missed that. You see, this is what this brow looks like. This is what it looks like with Humble underneath it. Y'all can see, yeah, that definitely gives a highlighting effect. And with it being matte, I don't have to worry about her causing a glare or anything, but she came through for the girls. It's just that for shimmers, I'm not going to want to try her. I'm going to use my favorite Old Reliable, the Natural Hair MAC 242. We're going to use this with the shade Bittersweet. Although I genuinely would prefer something that was a little lighter than this. This was the lightest color in the palette, and we want to try to stick to the palette. And this shade is coming up a lot easier, even though this brush is much thinner than my brush that I used on the lids. This shade Bittersweet came up much easier than those others. And she laid down a lot easier too. I can see that color there, and I'm going to see if I could just blend her out to give her a little more shine. But I'm guessing because of my complexion, she would have come off a little better if she was lighter. So I may go in and tap something else on top of it, but I'm really trying my hardest to just stick to this palette. Yeah, like I'm trying to get her to give me some shine, but that's not, you know, she's darker than my complexion, so she's not gonna lift. So what I'm gonna do is go in with just a little bit of my MAC Old Darling and top that off on top of it. Yeah, like see that instantly, you see on that one side, just help that out. Okay, yeah, so now we have that going. And I'm looking, I'm like, okay, Torrance, I don't think we need to do anything else. So it's just time to spray and lay everything down. So first up, Max Fix Plus. Gotta have this to give ourselves a glowy dew. And honey, I know y'all just saw that. That whole bottle of Fix Plus just squirted right in my face. Normally it gives you a nice dewy spray. I didn't get a spray today. I got a squirt. Like, my face is dripping wet, but luckily I was prepared for this. Honey. Ooh wee, I think I might have even smeared just a tiny bit of my mascara. We got to get on this. All-nighter so things can last all day. Cheap fan, expensive breeze, good times. I'm going to give this a few more moments to dry, and I'll be back to show you all the final look and give you all my thoughts. And this is the final look. I want to go ahead and give you all a full face view of things before I give you all my final thoughts. And I'm here to tell you all, honey, I am feeling myself. Ain't no point of lying, honey. It's been quite a minute since I've worn makeup, as you all can see. We baked, we caked, we layered, and the glow is still coming through. I ain't gonna lie to you all. Reds, pinks, blacks, I love those colors individually, but it's very rare I bring all of those colors together. And I kept sitting back and trying to tell myself, Torrance, it's something up with this palette. It's a reason why nobody's done a review on this palette. And I could not figure out why. I'm like, Torrance, you're not on the Sigma PR list. So you would think somebody who's on that list would have done a video on this palette, or somebody who's just not on the list would have gone ahead and do it just so we can get some information about it. And I want to let you all know something. First off, do I recommend this palette, yes or no? I'm going to say yes, as long as you do not have this one specific palette in your collection. Because first off, let's get into it. Sigma Bare Bliss, 12 pans. Most of Sigma's eyeshadow palettes that they have come out with recently are either 9 pan or 14 pan palettes. I believe their 14 pan palettes retail for $49. This one here was only $21. So when you think of only removing 2 shades and saving $21, it's a no-brainer. Easily you would think, okay, I want to go ahead and get that. The problem is, I'm not a stranger to Sigma's formula. So when I was using this, the one thing I kept telling myself is, Torrance, the swatches look amazing. And so it had me wondering, wait, is Sigma changing their formula when they just changed their formula? What could be going on, you know, that's different with this? And I'm here to tell you, I don't believe this is Sigma's everyday, you know, normal formula that they market and that they use on an everyday basis. First off, let's get into this. This, I believe, is Sigma's best-selling palette. It is the Ambiance palette, 14 neutral shades. This is the formula everyone goes crazy over, but it's not one that I use on an everyday basis simply because I like a little more depth and variety. I also love a matte black, and this palette doesn't have that, but I promise you, this is probably the one palette I would recommend to anyone who really wants to try the Sigma formula, because this is the one that people love the best. The thing is, with this palette here, every single shade in this 12 pan palette is a re-promote. All 12 shades are re-promotes. And I couldn't figure out exactly which palette it reminded me the most of, so I start pulling them out, and I'm here to tell you, I found shades that match 5 different Sigma palettes, but I only own 4. The very first one here, and I got me some notes because baby, I had to pull this out because once I sat down and started thinking about it, I'm like, no, I got to get my people on. The first one is the spicy palette. I'll leave a picture of it right here because I don't have the spicy palette. 9 pans, and it's saying for that palette, it has a matching shade, which is this shade here, Chilies. It's saying those two are a match. I have no clue because I don't have that one. But what is another match is the Untamed palette. And I have the Sigma Untamed palette here. And it's saying that the matching shade in this palette is this shade here, Wicked, the matte black. And to show you all if they are a match, I'm going to leave a pop-up right here for you all. As you can see, that is only one matching shade. The thing is, for me, I would say they look almost identical. The thing is, Wicked in this palette seems to be a little more powdery. Wicked in the Bare Bliss seems to come off a little more, I'm going to say cream to powder. Like, it seems to be a little more pigmented, a little smoother than what's in this one here. Next up, we have the Cordarosa palette. With the Cordarosa, I believe we also have one matching shade, and with that shade is Shakespeare. Shakespeare in this palette is this matte burgundy-ish reddish shade here. The thing is, I want you all to look at the compare swatch of this here and the one in the Bare Bliss palette. You see where I'm getting at. With the Bare Bliss swatches, which were all on the top, one swatch, you saw how deep and richly pigmented that was. This Shakespeare in this Cordarosa palette already has hard pan on it. It's absolutely fabulous because I've used this palette many times and I even have a tutorial which I'll leave linked right here above. It's one of my most requested Sigma videos. The thing is, this one here has hard pan and was swatched twice. Shakespeare from the Bare Bliss palette was only swatched once and comes off fighting like a champ. She comes off fighting like a champ, and to me, it almost has me wondering, is this a pigment palette and this is an eyeshadow palette? Because I really feel as if the mattes in this palette have much more pigment, but the shimmers in this palette have much more shine, color, and blendability. So it's like, okay, Torrance, what else do you got going? Because that's only one a piece. Ended up pulling up the Enchanted palette. With this Enchanted palette, you get two colors that look alike. You get these two here. This dark brown Claystone and this matte black Wicked. Once again, that matte black Wicked shows its face again. So I want you all to look at the swatches of these two compared to the Bare Bliss. And as you see with those, very similar. It seems like it's the same thing as the Untamed palette to me, as well as the Cordarosa. These in their 14 pan palettes do not seem quite as pigmented as the ones in the Bare Bliss. It seems like they're a little more powdery, as in they are an eyeshadow powder. And the Bare Bliss, although it says it's an eyeshadow powder, it comes off to me as a pigment. It's just so strong, so much darker. It's just, they're so close. But after seeing all of those, you would think, okay, that's one shade here, that's one shade there, Torrance. Where do you get a real comparison? And this is where I say, I recommend this palette as long as you do not have this one here. The Sigma Warm Neutrals. Because baby, when I tell you, inside of this Bare Bliss palette, which has 12 shades, 9 out of the 12 are in the Warm Neutrals palette. All 6 on this top row appear in the Warm Neutrals, as well as Chilies, Amaranth, and Bittersweet. Those 3 on the bottom also in the Warm Neutrals. The only 3 you do not get is Shakespeare, Claystone, and Wicked. And I want to show you these two side by side just so you can get an idea of how close these color stories are. 9 shades from the top palette can be found in the bottom palette. But I don't want you all to just see this. I want you all to get a view of those comparison swatches because, baby, I spent plenty of time and plenty of soap getting all of these swatches for y'all together. I want y'all to look at this Bare Bliss and this Warm Neutrals palette. And do you see what I see, honey? It's the same thing as the rest. It seems like the swatches are absolutely beautiful, but the colors in the Warm Neutrals seem just a little more muted and a little more powdery than in this Bare Bliss palette. Even though they say they are the exact same shade in the same name, I am someone who does not believe these are the exact same formula. The Bare Bliss comes out swinging with the fight. If you are someone who is not comfortable in your blending and you are not comfortable with pigments, the Bare Bliss palette may be a little too much for you. But if you are someone who's wanting to try the Sigma formula but not necessarily wanting to pay that full Sigma price, I think this is a very nice place to start for it because as of right now, right before this tutorial, I did check. The Warm Neutrals is out of stock on the Sigma website. She's $49, but you cannot get her. You can get this one from the Costco website. The thing is, I truly believe this is for the girl who's comfortable with her blending and does not have this Warm Neutrals palette. If you already have this one, you're going to get 9 of your 12 shades out of here, and it makes more sense to spend that money getting something else. And other than that, though, you all see her, honey. She's pigmented. She's beautiful. The thing is, you got to make sure you know what you're doing because this is a dark look. You see, I went in with some of these lighter shades. Yes, I did use the black, but to know I used these 2 reds here, and that's what you have in my crease with just a little bit of this black, you can get a darker look. And if you are the type of person who has a very fair complexion or you like lighter shades, chances are she might not be for you because these 2 are your lightest 2. And this is my transition shade, which is right here. So, I have her. I'm glad I have her. When I post this video tomorrow, please let me know if you all have seen any tutorials from anybody else on this palette because I'm telling you, it is shocking me that no one has spoken of this palette. To know that Sigma is a respected brand, to know they make quality products, to know that they have a PR list, and nobody's done a tutorial with this, it's like, honey, are you not seeing the beautiful shadows that I'm seeing? And even though I know, honey, it is the middle of winter, y'all see how I went in and gave myself that summer glow. Because, baby, I spent all that summer in the house injured, but it feels nice to be back in makeup. I'm sitting here looking at this because I'm like, baby, I can't wait to go get my hair done, but I had to get this out for y'all. So, Torrance, do you recommend the Bare Bliss? Yes, as long as you do not have the Warm Neutrals. Also, no if you have the Warm Neutrals, and no if you do not feel comfortable with blending pigments. But other than that, I'm sitting around looking at this mess like, Torrance, this table was clean before you got started, but we got we got dirty brushes, which is basically doubling our workload because all I had to do today was edit, but it looks like I got to edit and clean. But you all are truly worth it. But it's time to go ahead and call this an end. So please, please, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Also, give this video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below if you all either have this palette or if you've heard of anybody else having it, because so far, anytime I ask anybody about it, ain't nobody heard about it, don't nobody know nothing about it. But I want to go ahead. Right now, it's only about 12:30 on a Sunday, so I have plenty of time to get this video edited today, up to you all on Monday. I do have an updated video coming to you all about what's been going on behind the scenes because, baby, some things went on that I need to talk to you all about. But with nothing else, I hope you all remember to practice, continue to stay blessed, and until next time, goodbye, YouTube.